Okay, so we're here with the second part of the video of how to play 40k. As I said, this one we're going to be going over stats, what the different stats mean and what they're used for. I'm going to be going over different unit types and vehicles, and I'm going to be going over the force organization chart. A normal guy, we'll take a look at the Imperial Guard here. Well, for starters, this is the Imperial Guard Codex. In order to play 40k, you need the Warhammer 40k rulebook, which is the main set of core rules for the game, which you can get a condensed version of it in the Assault on Blackreach set, which is actually a phenomenal deal for what you get in it. It's pretty much every single time they release a new set, it's a better deal than the last one was. In the codex, especially the 5th edition codexes, there's a few different parts. The parts you're going to be needing to play is this first part here, the Forces of the Imperial Guard. This part has descriptions of all of the different units. Let me back this up a little bit. So like this one's the Company Command Squad page, and on this page it goes over everything for the Company Command Squad. It has a breakdown of its stats, and it has any special rules that the Company Command Squad has that's unique to the Company Command Squad. So it has in this case the Imperial Guard can use orders, which are basically ways to tell different guys in your squads, different squads to do things. So it lists the orders that are specific only to the Company Command Squad. Another example here. Okay, so we've got the Stormtrooper page here. It's got the Stormtrooper up here. It has a few paragraphs of fluff, which is basically storyline and non-rules, just information about the Stormtroopers. Sometimes a picture of them. And if you see here, it's got the breakdown of their stats, and it's got the stats of the Sergeant. It lists the special rules, which in this case is Deep Strike. And another one of their special rules is their special operations. There we go, that probably helps a little bit. They have special operations. This is a unique rule to the Stormtroopers, so it lists all of the rules for the special operations they can take. And they have a hotshot las gun, which they're pretty much the only guys that have a hotshot las gun. So it lists the weapon stats, and it also just gives a brief little non-rule section about it. Typically, in any sort of rule description like this, the first paragraph will be non-rules, just description, and the second paragraph will be how it plays in the game. For example, we can resolve. The Psychers reach out with their minds, invoking irrational terror in the minds of their foes. That has nothing to do with the rules. The second paragraph is what it actually does in-game. So that's the general gist of this entry. This is the first entry. The second entry you'll find usually later in the codex. And if you see here, the company commands, or actually let's see the Stormtroopers. The Stormtroopers that we just looked at, they have another entry in here under the Elite section. Stormtrooper Squad. This is where it lists their points, 85 points. For 85 points, this is what you get. You get 1 Stormtrooper Sergeant and 4 Stormtroopers. It also lists their unit type, which is infantry, which I'll get to in a minute. And it lists all of their war gear. They have Carapace armor, which is what gives them their 4+ save. They have the hotshot las gun, which you saw in the which you saw the description for back in the last entry. They have a hotshot las pistol, close combat weapon, frag grenades, and crack grenades. We'll get into what some of these things do later. Special rules, Deep Strike, and special operations, which you saw in their last entry. Over here are options. You can add additional members to the squad, up to 5 of them, so you can have a maximum of squad size of 10 with them. Each individual one is 16 more points. And it talks about what kind of weapons you can switch out. Like you can change in some of your weapons with the sergeant for like a plasma pistol. Two of the stormtroopers can get additional weapons, or can trade in their weapons for like a melta-gun or a flamer, which are just more effective weapons at certain tasks. This is basically the entries in the codex. This is what most of them look like. I'm going to go over the stats now. If you look here, I'm not sure how well you can see this. First up is this WS. That's weapon skill. This is how good they are in close combat with their physical hand-to-hand weapons. BS is ballistic skill. Some of you may think it stands for something else, but no, it stands for ballistic skill. This is how good they are at shooting. Strength is S. That's their physical strength in close combat. Toughness is what T stands for. That's basically how well they can take a hit. W is for wounds. That's how many attacks they can take, how many failed hits they can take. Most units are 1. Some characters and leaders on that are usually 2 or 3. I is for initiative. This is the speed at which they go in close combat. The higher the initiative, the better. A is for attacks. That's how many, basically how many dice you get in close combat. LD is for leadership, which is used for making tests to see if they run away, when they hit casualties, that kind of stuff. And the SV is save. Save is not just a number, it's a number with a plus. That's the number that you need to roll on a die. So 4 plus would mean you need a 4, 5, or 6 on a die roll. And I'm going to go over how to use all of those a little bit later. Okay, so as far as the force organization is concerned, the force organization is what kinds of units how many of what kinds of units you can take. There's your main one, which is HQ, which is headquarters. In a typical game, you can have 2 HQ choices. In a standard game, you're required to have at least 1. So this side over here is going to be required. And this side is optional. You're also usually required to have 2 troop choices. Let's make that box a little bit bigger. Yes. Troop. Troops are usually your main base infantry in the army. They're usually, in a lot of cases, they're the worst guys that you can get in your army. They're the weakest, flimsiest guys, but a lot of times they're also the most useful because they are inexpensive in points, they can take some special weapons here and there, and you can get a lot of them. With some armies like Space Marines, your basic troops are actually really good. Optional, you can have up to 4 additional troops. You can have 3 elites. You can have 3 fast attack. And you can have 3 heavy support. HQ, like I said, is your headquarters, your leaders of your squads. The HQs are oftentimes a single character, and sometimes it's a single character with what's called a retinue, which is a squad that goes with the single character. He's basically the commander of your army. You can have a maximum of 2 of them. The troops, in a typical game, you're required to have 2. You can have up to a total of 6, meaning you can have 4 additional ones. You can have 3 elites. These guys are things like Terminators. The Stormtroopers I showed you are elites. They're kind of like Marines in our military. They're kind of like the best of the best, the ones that are They have special weapons, special war gear, special rules, all kinds of cool stuff like that. And they're usually a lot more points than your basic infantry. Fast attack. These are things that can move across the board quickly. And the Space Marines, the land speeder can move up to 24 inches a turn, when a standard foot soldier can move 6. So things like that are fast attack. Bikes can move up to 24. So it's just things that move quickly across the battlefield. A lot of times those are assault units. And there's heavy support. These are the big things, the tanks like the Lehman Russ I showed you, things like the Land Raider I've been talking about. Those kinds of things are heavy support. Huge tanks, beasts with like 6 wounds, things with huge heavy weapons on them. Those kinds of things are in heavy support.